We are Brightside Home Theater.
Hey, home theater nerds, welcome to the Brightside Home Theater Podcast. The home theater podcast, it's all about the experiences, the sights,
the sounds,
las escenas.
Oh boy. I'm assuming that's the scenes.
Yeah, well, we're trying to get international.
Oh, definitely. Yep. We are definitely international, that's for sure. It's nice when we open the show. I come in here and it's like we go right from the green room to this, and there's already a bunch of people talking, waiting for us to chat. It's
awesome.
Yeah, a lot of fun. How's your week going, guys? Let me increase my lighting in here. I feel like I look dark.
You look red.
I knew that was coming.
Change your lighting.
You need to be more like Steve.
That's right. Pasty white.
Ooh.
Shots fired.
Cross country high five, buddy.
That's
there
right.
we go. There we go. Right over the top of Steve. There we go. Boom.
I'm going to reach over the pond and give you a smack.
Yeah. Pasty white. That was awesome.
Just kidding.
Yeah,
always got my back.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Always got my
I'm
back.
a New Zealander.
Yeah.
Grew up in Spain.
So good.
Week is good, DJ. Thanks for asking. I'll get us back on track.
There we go. Thank you.
I'll keep us on track this show.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's all I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Good luck to me.
My week's been good, apart from I'm mildly annoyed because I waited by the phone all week, convinced the Grammys would call, asking for some sort of performance. But I mean, nothing. I'm appalled.
Big time.
They could get Harry Styles on there. Why can't I get on there? What's going on?
Unbelievable. I couldn't believe that snub. Apparently, I put in the request. I nominated you. I said, look at this.
Righty so.
But
You were our one nominee from England, so.
But actually, you know what? Maybe it's for next year's Grammys because this is 2023. Isn't that music from 2022?
True enough.
There you go.
Long time to wait by the phone, though.
So you're saying there's a chance. Yep, exactly. Oh, yeah, we got to get that recorded, though, for the green room with, the explicit version.
I can do it. I've got the notes here still. I've kept them there.
The notes. Come on.
Been practicing all week for the Grammy.
I know, you don't need notes. You've been singing that in the shower all week. That was great. It took a lot for me not to text Todd and be like, you got to check this out. But it was so much more fun with him just finding it organically and just being what the hell? It's like,
he keeps some strange hours, though, because he tweeted that at about 10 o'clock in the morning, my time. So that must have been about 5 a.m. Your time. And he's down in Washington, isn't he? Maryland, I think he is.
Yeah,
so
same.
He's on Eastern time then, isn't he?
Yeah, same as me.
So, yeah. I mean, I know he works out quite early, doesn't he? But even then, 5 a.m., that is early. So, it was fun to see. And I'm glad, I'm glad we just let him discover it.
Oh, yeah. It was great. It was great. Let's see. Do we want to get into anything? We have, as far as donations go, we had no new patrons this week, no boxes of popcorn. Patreon supporter of the week, Steve George. No, sorry, John Brock.
Steve Brock.
He's in the chat. He's in the chat room.
Yes, he is. Brock Star. Yep. Yeah, John Brock, 4 months. Thank you very much. Thank you to all of our patrons. We really appreciate it. Not necessary, absolutely not necessary, but greatly appreciated. We're going to be having, because of the patrons, because of everything, aside from the donations that we do, there's a big ad coming to the podcast soon, and hopefully it's going to pay off for everybody. So I will be adding that, a big surprise. The guys don't even know. And when I refer to the guys, I mean the rest of the bus bench here, these guys over here. They don't even know what it is yet. So I'm hoping it's going to be a big fun new thing for the podcast. So and part of that, the reason we're doing it is because of the patrons. So thank you very much. as far as giveaways for this week, I'm trying to speed through this. Steve has to get out of here today. So we actually had BJ, he DM'd me today and said he has Patriot games and he also has Home Alone, but I gave Home Alone to John Charles on 120, so maybe he went to use it and it wasn't capable of being used because BJ already took it. So I apologize to that, John. But yeah, please forgive me, but it's like I have a lot here, and like I said before, if I've given them out and maybe you get it and it's been used, I apologize, but it's great that everybody's donating like crazy because people are grabbing movies that they weren't able to get before. So keep it going. But we have 2 new ones this week. Justin Van Camp gave us the entire 4-movie collection in 4K, The Hunger Games. And we also have from Mark Hader, we have Saving Private Ryan, but he warned it may be expired. But that's definitely, if you're interested in it, it's definitely one worth trying out. Obviously, I can't try it, otherwise I'd then own it. So it's a catch-22. So if you're interested in it, give it a shot. Who knows? We'll call that potluck week.
When did it expire? June 7th, 1943, was it? Or
maybe. Let's also throw out, if I haven't already given it out, Expendables 1 through 3. Johnny Speakers donated that one a little while back, so we have that. So if you're interested in that, let's give those away this week. So I'll put question marks on those, saying that I've already given them and they're up for grabs. So that's it for this week's giveaways. And let's see, what do we got? You guys got tweaks of the week? And let the sounder play, Steve. You go first since you don't say anything.
I'll just stay quiet.
Yeah. What did you just say? You just mouthed.
I'll just stay quiet.
Just stay quiet.
Nothing.
Just keep your lips moving. Actually, in the audio, it actually comes out cleaner on the other end. But you do anything this week, John?
No, I didn't do anything. But when we get to real experiences, I have a new experience, but it's not necessarily a tweak. So,
very interesting.
You'll know when we get there.
Yeah, you'll tell me.
Yeah,
cool.
You should already know if you've read the notes, but
I try to be surprised. So I have a lighting tweak thanks to Paul, and also came in from Martin as well. Martin Anderson. Let me read. It says hue scene change speed. It says, hi DJ, you can set the rate at which hue fades from one scene to another, but not using the standard Hue app. If you use the iConnect Hue app, and that's where I also suggested and tweeted to me by Martin Anderson as well, which is available for iOS and maybe Android, he's not sure. You can set fade times in that app. The fade times work in conjunction with a hue switch using iConnect Hue. When you program the button on the switch to recall a lighting scene, you can also set the fade in out time for that scene when you use that switch. When you use select scenes in the phone app itself, there is no fade time in the scenes which instantaneously in the scenes which switch instantaneously. Use the hardware hue switch though, and you can get a pretty smooth fade from one scene to another. I find a 3-second fade feels about right. And yes, I do exactly what you do. I have a relaxing, all lights on scene and almost entirely dim scene for the pre-show. There's a whole other topic there. And then fade to a full blackout scene when the movie starts. Because the hue switch is battery powered and detachable from the wall plate, I can use it like a remote control. Not sure if you can do the fades via Harmony. I stopped using my Harmony Elite a long time ago. Maybe I'll get that going again. The fade function works great. If I have friends over to watch something, at least the first time, it never fails to get a, ooh, just like at the cinema, when the lights go dim and then dim again. Just like at the cinema is the whole point for me. And just like the cinema is why I often make a pre-show for the movie nights with friends. I know, crazy amount of effort, but for me, it really adds to the occasion and avoids the shock of going from all lights to straight up blackout and look at screen now mode. Anyway, I highly recommend iConnect Hue. It's not quite as intuitive as the standard Hue app, but it does add a lot of functionality to your Hue stream that you don't get out of the box. It's a paid-for app, but not expensive, totally worth it in my opinion. I'm relatively new to the podcast, discovered it via following Steve on Twitter. That's why we brought him on. Nothing to do with his personality or anything, but loving it. I know I found my kind of podcast when I'm yelling out, yes, that's exactly how I feel, multiple times during a show. Thanks for all you're doing. P.S. Would love to see and hear more about your Zapedi if you still have it, because that looks like an ideal way to store and play back my pre-show videos. Paul Hurt in London. So, yeah. So thank you, Paul. Great email, because I did everything you said. I grabbed the Hue Connect app. It's, I believe it was $3.99. And I do have a wall switch. Mine isn't the remote one. Hue makes one that it sits on the wall and it looks like a switch, but you can pop it right off and take it with you like a remote. I bought the switch that goes onto your wall, and it has 4 buttons on it, and you can program it that way. So unfortunately, I can't take mine to my seat, but it does everything like he just said. So if you want to do this, I recommend it. And it's that oh wow, just like in a cinema feel. And when you're showing off your cinema, doing a demo or something like that, it nails it. And I did all the little things, and I had to do them from my phone instead of the app, but you use the Hue app and you go right from that, and it dims quiet, and then the movie starts playing, and you can pace it out with how long. So he suggested 3 seconds, which is perfect. But for me, with the going from the movie, there's the handshake takes a little bit longer, the HDMI handshake sometimes. So I actually put it at about 5 seconds, which that's about when the movie starts playing and the lights completely dim. It worked perfect. It's awesome. I actually thought of tearing out my wall plate, putting in the one that he has so I can sit there with it in my hand and do it only for myself. But then I thought better of it, because I'm like, I got a lot of other projects going on right now. I don't need to do this. But it is a great ad, and I love what he said. It's just like the cinema feel, which is the point to me anyways. And judging by our cinemas, just about the guys on the bus bench here and probably everybody listening, we're trying to, rejuvenate or recreate that feel when we go to the movies. And yeah, it was awesome. Great job. Martin's using it as well, so thank you to both of you. That was awesome. You're gonna get right on that, Steve?
Yeah, I control using the phone and my iPad anyway,
right?
And I've got the different scenes, but I'm quite happy with the amount of time it takes to dim.
Yeah.
I've got a show off mode for when I walk into the room.
Yeah,
and then I've got a semi-dimmed mode down to about 5%, and then I've got a complete turned off thing, and I just use it on the phone, and it's got widgets on there, you see, so you can just tap a button and it does it. So you can have your 3-stage dimming, just 1, 2, 3. So that's enough for me. I'm not going to mess around. The way I'm going to replicate the cinematic experience from Cinema George moving forward is every time I sit in the front row, I'm going to charge myself a little bit less than if I sit on the back row. That's how I'm going to address it. That's how I'll make it more cinema friendly.
Are you going to pour Coke on the floor before you start so your feet are sticky?
It's what I call an investment.
Right.
So that I think is the way to replicate it.
I love you guys.
I'm not gonna go to the bathroom. I'm gonna hold it through the whole movie.
Oh,
that's how I replicate. That's how I replicate the theater experience.
I'm gonna have I often wondered why some discs don't have like a talking track. Especially with Atmos, where some idiot behind you is talking through the film, and then someone's phone goes off, and you can hear crisps rattling, and chips rattling, and all this stuff, just to replicate it properly.
Right, a real language scene. and then you're like just with everything going wrong, and be like, you think Atmos isn't very good now? Listen to this one. Everybody talking. The screen starts getting brighter, like people are putting their phones on, and you're like, wow, it's just like the cinema feel.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And just to give a little delay every now and then, so you can shout, "Shut the flip up!"
Yeah,
to
exactly.
someone, but they carry on and ignore you.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And a little shadow every now and then of someone getting up to go to the toilet,
Walking across the
across the screen. Yeah.
Oh my God, that would be so funny. Like if you just made a movie and then you just like right at the bottom left corner of your big screen, you saw this little bright white square. Like when the door opens and it glares on that one spot on the screen, like open and close, and be like, "Hey, look, somebody's going to the bathroom." Oh, we got to try that.
It.
We got to. There's a whole new app for that.
Yeah, we're spending all this money on these speakers and screens and seating and everything else. When all we needed was sort of seamless branching, things working up, and an extra track.
Yeah, this is what happens when you get to be our age and you start to get to like, I can't really improve too much more, so I'm going to make the experience crappier.
Make it worse.
Just so I can appreciate how good it really is.
Yeah. Well, you've already got your popcorn smelling candle, haven't you? So you've already got that to have the smell throughout it. Stale popcorn smell. Then you're all good.
Yeah, just got to make sticky floors. Sticky floors. Get some 6-year-old running around with light up shoes.
Just pay somebody to watch with you and make noise and walk in front of the screen.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, that's good stuff. All right, we ready to get to this week's listener experiences?
Sure.
All right. We'll save that. That one goes there. That one, listener experiences. All right. First off, let's say quick. Let me see. Did this get updated? See if it says updated on my phone. Did I add everybody? Yep. Everything's there. So thank you. And this is how we're speeding along. Thank you to Gorinda, G. Cornell, Cameron, Brent, Martin, Carl, Paul, and Steve, all sending messages of having conversations during the week, just stuff that really doesn't need to be rehashed, but all fun stuff. Thank you very much. Multiple listeners have sent me this and commented. Did you guys get to watch at least some of it?
I watched all of it, actually.
Yeah. Well, I did. It's like an hour long, right? Is that what the total?
It's an hour, 58 minutes or something, but I watched it all.
So we don't have to get into the entirety, but I mean, everybody, it was fantastic how many people sending me like I'm going to build this, right? Like we're talking about the $1 million Star Wars theater. It's like a multi-million-dollar home and it's got $1 million Star Wars theater in it. And Carl and I talked about it in Tuesday's podcast. And it's, honestly, I'll be the first to say this isn't for me. It's too much. But I absolutely love it. I mean, I love that somebody went. I can't say that if I had the money, I wouldn't do it, right? Because if I had the ability to do it, maybe I would, and then I would maybe have the ability to tone it down when I wanted to. But it's just, I think there is a little bit of jealousy in me to say I wouldn't want it. So what did you guys think?
I love it for that guy.
Yeah.
I'm the same as you and Carl really in this. Like now again, I'm in a position where I don't even have what I want specifically because my theater's in a living room.
Right.
So I can't have a completely blank slate because we live in our house. There's furniture and couches and pictures on the wall. But I mean, if I was to build a dedicated theater room, I would want very minimal. Like, I don't even know if I'd have movie posters on the wall. Like, I want black walls, I want sound treatments, and I want a screen and seats. Like, that's what I want my room to be. I don't want to see my speakers. I don't want to recreate the old timey movie theater like again you guys were talking about. I just want a very minimal sound designed experience. But I love it for that guy. And again, like you and Carl both said, I'm as big a Star Wars guy as anybody.
Yeah.
You know, and it looks awesome. And even listening to the guy talk, I mean, I guess you would think acoustically it would be poor, but it seems to not be because of the way it was constructed. It actually, they say does a good job with the sound dispersion. But yeah, too distracting. Like just way too much. You know?
It's more like like you don't go to a museum to see a movie, right? And you don't go to a movie to see a museum. Right. You know, so
now,
it's like, but he combined the two, which is great. Like John said, like it's great for him, and I get that. You don't watch the movie in the Emperor's chair, but it's cool to go sit in.
Right. Like I said, I would love to make this room look like that. Like my Star Wars room that I have my collectibles in, I would love to have I would love for my room to look like that. Right. Have a door, you know, that's pressurized and but not for my theater, you know. So
yeah.
And
I see with me, I was looking at it thinking it is cool, but I'd want a separate corridor that doesn't have all that stuff in it, because if you have to go to the toilet halfway through the film, do you want to have to be walking through this bloody thing? You've got to wait for the door to open. You've got to wait for the lights to come on and all this. Exactly that. You know,
the power goes out and Steve wets himself.
Yeah,
well,
get out.
Exactly that. You need a mouse droid to come and do the cleaning up. You know, so I'd want a normal corridor to run alongside it, parallel to it, so that when you just want to get in and out, you could just do that. And then when you want to show it off, then you can go through all the, you know, and see all the different things. I mean, it is cool, but then it's not really a home, though, is it? As I understood it, it's a demo home for an installations thing, isn't it? It's as I understood it, it's a.
Oh no, I thought he lived there. I thought he lived there, but they just are big entertainers. But from what I understood, that's his home. Like they just, they're just big entertainers, and they, you know, like to have people over and show off. You know, obviously they're very well to do, and you know, but I was very impressed with the theater owner that did most of that work himself. Like figured out how to do most of that stuff and was able to do it. That's way beyond my scope. It would cost me $2 million because I'd have to pay somebody to do every bit of that.
Right.
He did $1 million worth of work himself. You know what I mean? So,
but that's part of the fun, right? If that's what he enjoys doing, that's great. It's like, but for now, don't get me wrong. I'll take things from there. I love looking, and that's what's fun about seeing all these theaters that are that extravagant. It's like you'd take ideas from them, and you'd take a piece of that and put it into, maybe incorporate that into your theater. It's, you know, I'm not going to do that, but I don't have that many friends for those seats.
Here's the thing, I do. Like if I was, you know, I've got my family, not my friends. I know. Like if I won the Powerball or something and was going to build a theater like that, I need a 20-seater. You know, if I want to have my whole family over
for movie night,
kids and grandkids to watch a movie, and I would absolutely use his equipment list. I would use every bit of equipment that he used. It just wouldn't have the aesthetics like that. So.
Right. Yeah.
But I did take notes about room size and equipment, you know, for when I win that Powerball.
Right.
You know?
Oh, yeah. Well, it's funny because, like, on the new theater we're building, my wife is the one that's telling me bigger. She wants me to make it as big as possible. And I'm trying to think practical and be like, I know I'm the only one in here 95% of the time.
And your kids won't even be living with you at that point.
Right. But you know what she's thinking? I want the kids and the grandkids to come over. Exactly what you said. So she's like, she knows my winning personality isn't going to invite them over. So she's trying to entice them because we don't have the pool anymore. We don't have, like, we got to have something good because he stinks. So build me a theater to attract the people. So she wants at least like 8 seats. And I was going down, I was only going to do like 6. I'm like, maybe just 3. I was trying to, because the smaller you go, the smaller you know, the less you need as far as equipment. But I'm like, okay, I'll try to do, you know, 2 rows of 4. And she's like, that should be fine. Okay, thank you. Yeah. But
again, you know, do you do that for 5 days a year? Because like even me, even with a Powerball win, like, do I need a 20-seater when 360 days a year is only going to be 2 of us in the room.
Right.
And then 5 days a year, it'll get used. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's worth.
Well,
worth doing
for me,
that.
going from like I was thinking minimum of a 3 wide, right? But to go to 4 is literally the cost. I mean, it doesn't really change your dimensions too much. It just, I mean, it is a little wider, but it's the price of 2 seats is really what it costs you.
Right. Which is not
I mean, and then it's worth it to be able to say, look, everybody can come in here comfortably, and so it's a little bit better that way. So I was willing to accommodate her.
Just
it's everybody,
remember, fellas,
providing they have 1 kid each. Once they start having more than 1 kids, 8 seats still isn't going to cut it.
That's also providing they all come over together.
Well, you're thinking holidays and stuff like that. So.
Just remember, the more rows you have, the bigger the pricing policy, guys. Just be aware.
Right.
You know, I just
You
want to
charge more down. Charge
That's
more in
what
the
I'm
back.
thinking. We're together, George. Steve.
Just looking
George.
George. Yeah, I thought we weren't doing that anymore.
No. Well, if you're going to keep
you haven't
razzing me
defended
about
him
my
200
tweets.
times yet. So.
Brockstar's just saying in the live chat, I'm just keeping an eye on that the Atlanta Theatre is the demo house. And apparently it is his home.
Yeah.
But the Atlanta Theatre is the demo house. So there we go. Right. I've seen some sort of $800,000 house that was all.
Isn't that the Atlanta one?
House.
The Atlanta one, yeah.
That's the Atlanta one, yeah.
Yeah. So which looks great, but I wouldn't want to live there. I'd have a constant migraine. Just all the different lights and all the different things, even the ensuite, like
the sights, the sounds, the scenes. We haven't even gotten in it yet.
Right, yeah, that's it.
Oh,
there we go.
But it's so funny how that just permeates right through everybody, like the podcast. Everybody, they're like, "Oh, DJ's building," like sending it to me. It was great.
See if
I
we
loved
can get
it
to do it.
Huh? Yeah,
Let's see if we can get it to build it. Yeah, it'll be funny.
It's like Mikey. He's stupid. He'll do anything. Thanks, guys.
You'd be more likely to build a T2 one, wouldn't you, rather than a Star Wars one? Wouldn't you want to have the T exoskeletons on the doors and stuff?
No.
T800s?
No, you're very, 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 very close, and I'm going to try to incorporate it in this theater. So if you look at my theater now, it has everything like John said, posters on the wall. I got the stuff at the back, but that's because I was never able to do what I wanted to do. I wanted to have the lobby like Nelson's. I talked to Nelson over the weekend, and we were going back and forth about some stuff and about the new theater and everything. And if I can have that lobby area, that outside the theater area, and decorate that, and then you simplify inside the theater, I will do that. And one of the things I do want to add, though, is I want to have I have the arm.
The arm come out. Yeah.
I want to have it in the wall, lit with the blue lights around it, and have it being shown that way, and be able to, and maybe even a chip next to it or something, but something small like that. I don't like big things that are like a giant stormtrooper. I love the look of them, but I like more like small, like the arm is not really small, but it's kind of an obscure, not a lot of people have that. It's like, and it's getting older now, and a lot of people, that's from T2, but I like my rock. Stuff that's obscure. Not a lot of people have that. The thermal detonator that I have from Han Solo. From Solo. We each have a thermal detonator. You went with one version. I went with the other.
yeah, that's it. Well, I don't think that theater had a thermal detonator, so I'm already cooler than him. I'm just saying.
Yeah, right. I know, and yours does that.
But you say that the Terminator arm's old. Technically, it's not even been made yet.
Right.
Depending on which timeline
it hasn't been made yet, but it's been brought back.
Yeah.
So we have it, but we didn't make it yet, right? Kind of like John.
The chicken and the egg.
Not this John Connor.
Yeah.
All right. We all ready to get, I got to get my button ready here for the language. The multi-listener comment. And that was, Mike Schramm played perfectly right into it. There was no planning whatsoever. When I put out and like tune in and whatever, and he's like, what could it be? I was like, tune in on Tuesday at 4:00. So Rob had a tweet going around. In my notes it says momentums, but that's got to be a misspelling. I don't know what that means. But it was a picture of a diagram of speaker placement. And throughout Twitter and others and listeners like Mark V and Omar, they made comments that just had me cracking up. And it's like, I'm like, okay, so there were a lot of speakers there. They had every speaker that you could possibly have, right? And it was like height channels, front wides, rear wides. There was a center middle channel. Plus you had your whole regular bed. And then there were overheads plus additional overheads. And the comment that kept resonating with me is people were like, that's just too many speakers. It'd be too loud. And then when I finally made the comment was when Omar's like, that many subwoofers would blow my house apart, or whatever he said. And I'm like, people need to remember, is this why, and we have this coming up later, it was a legit question from Jonathan, and we'll talk about that. But I'm like, maybe this is why people can't listen at reference level. Are you not EQing your rooms? Because you can have one speaker or you could have 50 speakers. If you EQ your room, it's all the same level. Reference level should be an average of 85 dB. That's what 85 comes in, right? But you'll have your peaks and you'll have your lows for conversation, whatever. But it should all be the same. So when you get new speakers you could get 20 new speakers, but they have a different impedance. So they have a different, not a frequency. What am I looking for here? Help me. My mind's going blank because I'm on a rant. Sensitivity rating. They'll have a different sensitivity rating, right? Oh, well, if you don't EQ your room, well, they're going to play louder. If they have a higher, sensitivity rate, they'll be like, whoa, look how loud those are. That's great. As soon as you EQ your room, it should bring it right back down. Now you're just using less power to run those speakers, but your volume shouldn't change. If anything, a case could be made that your volume would actually get quieter to the rest of the house, because now instead of having just 5 speakers running, if you have 10 speakers doing the same amount of work, they can each run a little quieter, so you're not blasting that one speaker to try and get to you. Maybe it's a little closer to you or something. So, and I'm not saying that's the case, but it definitely wouldn't play necessarily any louder once it's EQ'd. That's the point of equalization, EQ. That's the idea. So you can add as many subs as you want. It's still one sub channel. It should all be playing at the same. The reason we add more subs, we should all be knowing it's just to make it more uniform throughout the room. It doesn't play louder. So, all right. That was it. See, no swears. No, nothing.
No swears.
But I respect all of these people, and they're all saying this thing, and I'm like, that's not what happens. So I thought I'd put it in the show. Hopefully you found that entertaining, or you're pissed off and you'll never listen again.
Right.
So, all right.
Won't be the first time.
Exactly.
As we were talking about before the show started, I mean, it's all about, in terms of volume, and I wonder if there is some confusion between reference levels and volumes, EQ and comfort, if that makes sense. And I wonder if there's some confusion there. I mean, in terms of what volume you listen at, my personal view is it's whatever makes you comfortable. I mean, you don't want to saying, well, this is the level I should be listening to it at, so I'll do that. And if that makes you uncomfortable, what's the point?
Right.
It's just got to be, and every room sounds different. Every room has a different setup, depending on where the speakers are and everything else and your placement in the room. So watch it in a comfortable volume. And as long as you're enjoying that, that's fine. Otherwise, if you're again, you and I were talking about it. If you are watching it at an listening to it, at an ear-splitting volume, because someone else says it sounds awesome when you do that,
right?
Then that's not going to help. I mean, you could physically harm yourself, which is not what you want.
Yeah,
either.
We'll get to more of that when we get to Jonathan's question. And it's like, I mean, because there's reasons for that too, because it shouldn't be painful by any stretch.
No.
So, John, you want to read, because I think this one, do you want to take this one, John?
Randy?
Yeah.
This, I guess, was a tweet.
No, that was an email.
No. Email. Okay.
Email. I just screen
from
grabbed
Randy. Legal thrillers. It says, "Hi boys, I have loved the genre of legal thrillers drama since seeing my first Perry Mason episode as a kid. With Steve being a defense lawyer, I am intrigued as to how he views this genre through the lens of an expert in the field." Excuse me, I'm sorry. I had to make this a little bigger because I can't see. Hang on. Sorry, I can't read it. I am under no illusions that what is portrayed in literature and cinema is reality, but was wondering how the panel views this hugely popular genre. Does Steve use it as comedy?
Does he see it as comedy? You
Does
want me
he
to take
see it as comedy? Yeah, because honestly,
Okay.
I can't see it.
I know, because it's black on white on black. Does Steve
Yeah.
see it as comedy? Is he like a carpenter who wants nothing to do with his tools when the workday is done? And does he have a favorite film in this category? By the way, I do know what the word Randy is in slang. What word Randy is slang for? LOL. So,
Yeah.
I'll let Steve go first.
Yeah, that did make me laugh when I read that last bit.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
was very funny. We have talked about it before, to be fair, and the position is it depends on from what country the legal thriller originates. I cannot watch any British legal drama, thriller, comedy, anything at all. And by legal, I mean also to do with the police and everything else as well. Unless it's something like Hot Fuzz, which is deliberately supposed to be a joke. None of that's realistic. But any drama, anything that is portraying even slightly some sort of realism is impossible for me to watch. And no one wants to watch it with me because I will spend the entire thing going, well, that's wrong. That's wrong. They'd never do that. That's ridiculous. And that irritates the hell out of anybody, understandably, including me. But I can't switch that off. So if it's British, forget it. That I cannot watch. So yeah, and you may occasionally find me muttering, as it were, on Twitter about that.
Yeah.
And people go on about it because I just get irritated and I can't mute the words and it does my head in. Anyway, so that's the British stuff. Now the American stuff, though, which is your John Grisham stuff, your all that kind of thing, I find quite entertaining. It's quite fun. I have no problem with that at all, and it's fun to watch. I mean, because I don't know much about the American system, so I can suspend my disbelief just about to be able to then enjoy that. And I mean, things like Devil's Advocate, Few Good Men, 12 Angry Men, things like Murder in the First and all that sort of stuff. These are movies.
The Brady Bunch when Mike got Carol off by dropping the book. I mean, come on.
Well, or even Shrinking.
cut.
There's a short thing in episode 2 of Shrinking where there is a little bit of lawyer discussion. So I can enjoy that, and I absolutely love She-Hulk, and of course that's all that sort of stuff as well. So it depends on where it's from. I love it if it's in America. If it's in England, forget it. And that's kind of how I view it. And no, I wouldn't be turned off a legal thriller in the US. It's not as though Philadelphia again, another really good one.
Yeah.
And I can thoroughly enjoy those, and occasionally laugh at the appalling way in which they conduct their trials. But that's but it may that might be how it is. I don't know. I don't
with Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
I love that
another
movie.
Grisham.
John Grisham.
Yeah, Grisham's are great.
Time to Kill. Again,
Time to Kill,
one,
yep.
which is fantastic. Oh, and of course, bloody hell, JFK. The ending of JFK. That speech at the end is fantastic. And Amistad as well, which of course we were only talking about the other day. That's the whole thing's about a legal case. So those films are all great, and I love them, and I can watch them happily and not get annoyed. But if it's British, forget it. you'll just hear me muttering from miles away.
John, do you like this stuff? I think you do.
I mean, I like the stuff, but I have no, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not in the legal field, so I don't look at it at that lens. I mean,
no, we're blissfully ignorant.
Yeah, I mean, I watch tons of things and shake
things.
my head at how, that would never happen. But, not specifically with legal stuff. I enjoy, the genre, all the movies you guys mentioned and more. Yeah, I love it. So.
Yeah. And when he said Perry Mason, I also Matlock. I loved Matlock growing up. It's like I love Perry Mason, But Matlock to me was the one that was like, oh, if you like this, go watch Perry Mason, because that came before me. So then you'd watch the old Perry Masons, but then Matlock, and you just, those 1 hour shows, especially where they wrap the whole thing up in an hour, but you knew at the end, you're like, there was going to be a big reveal, like Discovery or something, like, haha, and they entrap you into saying what you were actually, it's great. I love that stuff.
And there's only like 3 types of scripted drama anyway, right? Like it's either a hospital show, a cop show, or a legal show.
Right.
And so if you cut 2 out of the 3 out, there's not a whole lot left for you. You're watching a whole lot of medical shows. And if I was a doctor, I'd probably be like shaking my head at all of those shows too. So
actually, I've just realized I should have said, how can I not have mentioned, frankly, there is an American TV show from the late 80s, early 90s, that could be the reason I'm a lawyer.
LA
Any
Law?
idea what that would have been? That's exactly it.
Yeah.
LA Law.
Yeah.
Yeah. The one thing with the turning around of the tie, what color was the tie? That I mean, it just it was lampooned, I think, in The Simpsons. I think it was. But no,
Loved
LA Law,
that show.
I mean, I was an
My cousin
impressionable
Vinny.
chap.
Oh, I love my cousin Vinny. See, you should watch. I know I've asked you, John, many times. Have you ever seen, Steve? Have you seen the show Psych?
No.
Okay. If you get a chance, watch it. If you can find it, I love it. It's and it has Corbin Burnson in it. He plays the father of the kid. And there's a line in it. They open every episode with a flashback to the 80s when the kid was supposed to be growing up. And basically the premise of this show is the kid, who's played by oh man, I watch it all the time. I forget his name. Anyways, the main character, Sean Spencer, he's been trained by his dad because he has like this like really photogenic memory. Like he walks in a room and he just memorizes everything. And his dad trained him. It's almost to the point, like as you watch all the episodes, it's like almost to the point of child abuse. Like the things he did to his kid, it's so funny because he's like forcing him, like how many hats are in the room, and then he has to close his eyes and guess how many hats are in the room, and he'll be like, this kid over here, this, because he's training him. So anyways, the opening episode, he says like he solved a case, and they're like, how did you know this? They think he did it, and he's like, I'm psychic. So that's the premise of the show. So the rest of the show is just him being a really good detective. But Corbin Burnson, in one of the training things, is the little kid, Sean Spencer's like, oh, I love this. And he's like, no, it's just a fad, kind of like LA Law. And he says that, but it's like the whole show. If you like, dramas, comedies, and, kind of like a legal thriller type thing, because there's a little bit of that in there, but it's more like a murder every week and they solve it. That's what this is, and it tons of flashbacks to the 80s. I can't recommend it enough. I love that. Absolutely love that show. Watched it with my kids. It's great.
And I will have to. Yeah, I'll look that up.
Seek
I'll give
that
a
out.
watch.
I've told John for like many years.
Yeah, you have.
I know.
It's on my list.
But the other one that springs to mind as well, whilst I've just been thinking about that, is the courtroom scene in Airplane 2.
Yep.
That is just, I absolutely love that. What was it, Doctor? Could you give us your impression of Mr. Stryker? He goes, no, he goes, I don't do impressions. My training's in psychiatry. And things. And as he's walking, you can hear like the footsteps go through water and leaves, and it's very, very funny. But yeah, there we go. So yeah.
Yeah, James Roday. That's what it is. It just came to me. James Roday. Did somebody say it? Making sure nobody said it. Yep, nobody said it. James Roday plays Sean Spencer. All right. You want to read the next one, Steve?
Neil's one?
Yep.
Okay, so this was a YouTube comment on the Oscar and the home theater experience episode from it just says Neil. It says, I put this episode on in the car during a long drive from the Inverness area in Scotland to take my wife to hospital in Edinburgh. She's never listened to you guys before, and to my surprise, it got her reminiscing about topics on your show, such as tape cassettes and old TVs. It passed the time for our road trip. Keep up the great work, and I look forward to hearing about DJ's new home theatre. So there we go. I tell you what, we're branching out. We've had London comments, Scotland comments. We are on our way.
Very much international.
Oh, we are international. I got in the next couple weeks, I got to schedule it. We got a big one coming up for a Takeover Tuesday. We are big time international. I'm super excited. I can't wait to tell everybody, but I just want, once it happens, I'll bring it out, but it's a big one. But yeah, I showed this one to my wife. I was like, I hope Neil's wife's okay. You had to take her to hospital? Like, and they're like, and this is the story? Like, I hope everything's okay. It was like a long drive to the hospital. I'm like, hey, the highlight was us. That's not good.
Yeah, well, let's hope we didn't put her into a coma.
No.
Otherwise, we're going to feel really, really bad.
I thought I was in pain before. But no, that's so cool when you hear stuff like that. Really appreciate that. So. All right, here's the one from Jonathan. So it says, safe listening levels. Hi, I have not heard a lot of in-depth discussion on the pod about listening levels. I know that DJ listens at reference level, not sure about Steve or John. I generally listen to 4K Blu-rays between -8 and -10. My system is calibrated to reference. On older discs, I may go to about -5. I don't really understand how you can listen at full reference level. It just seems it would be painfully loud. More importantly, my question is around safe listening levels. I am always concerned that listening too loud can damage my and others' hearing. I have sat watching movies holding a sound level meter to check the sound levels. Do you guys ever worry about this? DJ, do you think listening at reference level is safe for your hearing? Or are you not concerned about this? Like, threw it out the window.
Sorry,
he listens at full reference because he has ruined his hearing already.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. I will tell you, my wife doesn't like it at reference level in my room. I like it. My son likes it. It's my son. He won't watch video games at reference level, but there is no such thing as reference level on video games. Just like there's no such thing as reference level on music, right? There's no arbitrary number that you can set and dictate. Movies are one of the only, and that's what I find great about it, is the only one where it's like set and calibrated to this, so that different discs, some are louder, like Westworld, very loud. So I actually dial that back about 5. I go to about -5 because it's insanely loud. But to his point about the meter, the sound pressure meter, right? I've done that many, many times over the 30 years. John and I both had the Radio Shack sound pressure meters, and you'd sit there and you'd calibrate your room. That's how, there was no Room EQ Wizard. There was no Odyssey back then. You literally did it. You sat still, told everybody in the house to be quiet, and you balanced out everything. Then once you got there, you would run a scene and be like, okay, what am I at? And that was with, the old fashioned analog sound pressure meter. Right? Now we have our phones. You can do this stuff. You can use anything. And if you're running at about an average of about, like I said, 85, normal conversation, I'll sit in my room with everything running at reference level. And when two people are talking, you know what it says on my phone? Two people talking. Average conversation sound. When a big scene comes up, it might go jet engine or something. You know what I mean? It'll give you those different sounds. So yes, I am getting those peak sounds, but that's not damaging to hearing. When if you peak out at something and come back down. Now, if you go to a concert, that's excessively, do that night after night after night. That's excessively loud for a long time. My room, I said to Jonathan, I emailed him back. I gave him an explanation, pretty much this explanation. And I said, if you're ever in the area, and I say this to anybody, if you're in the area and you want to experience it, I think you would be very surprised, because I wasn't always able to run at reference level. Okay. So I used to try and it hurt, but it was as I added more treatments, as I increased the amount of treatment at the back of my room, at the front of my room, those two areas are really what enabled me to get there. And it actually quieted the house. To my point of what I made earlier, like the more speakers you have, it actually got quieter in the house. The bass got a little bit louder, but it got cleaner. So it wasn't like that overall IMAX boom, 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 which I used to have playing throughout the house. Now it's not nearly like that at all. Room's still the same, like attached to the house, but it is quieter. Sitting in the room, I can run at reference level now. I used to run at -15 before I put all my treatments in. And if I bumped it to 10, just like you guys, I'd be like, oh, that's too much. Now it's not like that at all. And it's not a matter of like what John said, like a lot of people might be thinking, well, DJ's just losing his hearing. I'm like, no, the sound pressure meter is saying the same things all the time. It's always right around. That's where it should be. So whether I'm losing my hearing or not, that's not going to change. So I think a lot of it, I mean, AV Rant stresses it all the time, and they should, because I think a lot of people forget and they neglect room treatments. It is the most important thing you can have for good sound, almost above and beyond the actual speakers themselves, because if you don't have good room treatments, you're not getting the actual speaker. You're getting the reverberations around the room, and that's muddying and creating more volume for you, which makes it more difficult. I gave a description in an email, it might have been Jonathan, recently. When we're in our rooms and these sound treatments, what we're trying to replicate is, say, an average of 85 dB with that same system set up from that same listening distance in the middle of a field. No walls. So when that speaker plays, the sound goes to you and that's it. So if you want that sound to pan, that speaker does its thing and then the rear speaker picks it up behind you and you think it panned. But that noise that came from that front speaker, that sound wave went by you and kept on going. Right? And so if you can get that same room from that same distance, your speakers that same 10, 12 feet away and all around, whatever, and you're in the middle of a giant field, you'll get that same feel. And that's what we're trying to replicate. It's the fact that you're taking that loud sound from 10 feet away in front of you and it hits the back wall and now it's coming back at you at the same time as the rear channel's trying to make it seem like a pan. You're still going to get the feel, but it's going to feel a lot louder and you're not going to be able to turn it up because now you're just sending bigger sound waves at you, more sound waves at you, right? So there's a lot at play here, and all I can say is, well, a lot, but room treatments. So Steve, you don't have a lot of room treatments, right?
No. I mean, I've got soundboards on the walls anyway, so that's all been kind of there. But I don't have separate ones. No. It's not been an issue. I've not detected it as a problem. And bearing in mind, again, I had it installed, so that was all set up. I had a sound engineer do all that, so that was all set up by someone with doing all the work that they needed to do. So it's got its own unique things, and it's got very thick carpets. It's got all this kind of stuff. It has some things there, but no, not any independent stuff on the walls or anything like that. I must admit, but I haven't detected it as a big issue. I haven't had not seen that or heard that that's a problem. But it's something I could do. But I it's one of those things. I might get to it eventually, but But you're not missing anything. Like you physically think, like you're like, I'm great with how it is, and that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, and it's like and everything's localized. The sound moves beautifully. I haven't had vibrations or sensed any muddying of the sound. Quite the opposite, really. So how it sounds is what I like. And so I think if I mess with that, the danger is you fix something that to me doesn't sound broken.
Broke.
Yeah, and so but I get that, and I've had people mentioned to me about it before, but it's like only online. No one that's actually been in there. Everyone that's in there is like, this is great. So it's fine. But I get it, and it's one of those things that I've thought about occasionally, but I don't think I'm going to do it anytime soon. Just unless it becomes a problem over time. If I sense the sound changing, then I might look into that. But for now, it's all right. But again, I've a smaller room as well. Of course, that's your other thing. But there it is.
But again, with equalization, that should all be the same. But the important thing for you and anybody is just enjoy what, like you said earlier, enjoy what you have. Don't feel like, if you don't feel like you're missing out, don't worry about it. But the problem lies in that they know there's more there. Like there's more volume on them. Why can't I get there? So people are like, why would you do that? It can't be done. And so people tell me you can't do that. People have emailed me and said in the past, early on, you can't do that. It can't be going that way. I mean, Tommy Andrew says it. Nobody listens at reference level. I'm like, I do all the time. I'm like, but it can be done. But just especially now with the dynamic EQ, you're probably running, I don't know if your Yamaha has that, but you're getting everything that you want to get. So that's not a problem. I love what I'm getting. And if you want to try to get there, all I can tell you is do what I did. It's like you just got to add more room treatments so you can get there. And I think you could. And if you happen to be in the area, hit me up. I'll give you a demo and you'll be like, oh, wow. Or you'll be like, DJ's all wrong. He's deaf as a doornail. I was like, we'll find out. Tune in next week. John, what do you listen at?
I listen at reference level when I'm alone, when I'm able.
Right.
For the most part, even alone, there's because again, I'm in a different situation where I use my theater for everything that I watch.
Right.
So certain things are louder than others. So there's certain streamers. AMC is one that's like super loud. So I'll knock it back a bit if I'm watching something there. But my wife, again, doesn't like reference level. So I'm generally at about -10 to -12 when we're just together watching things. But if I'm alone, I crank it up for reference level and I go to town. So yeah,
but you have
again, and I've mentioned this many times before. I have far from the ideal room. I am not like 100% satisfied with what I get in my room. I do the best I can with what I have. I would love to be able to have a dedicated room, but I don't. So there's no sound treatments other than drapes and throw rugs and furniture, which are sound treatments. And
but you also have space. Your room isn't small.
It's very wide open space,
yes.
And it's hardwood floors, and it's, lots of reflection points all over the place. But I do what I can with, again, with what I have. And it's good. Again, it's not my, it's not my end game if I could help it, but it is what I have. So
right. But you, like, in lieu of room treatments, the amount of space you have behind all of your speakers and everything, that's in a way that you're getting closer to that in the field kind of thing, right? Because the sound's not necessarily coming right back at you as fast.
Right.
Your speakers are closer to you than all your walls are, whereas most of us, even in a dedicated room, our speakers are right where the walls are. So that's a tight competition. Right. You have... Maybe you don't have absorption, but it is further away. In one direction, it goes literally down like into a kitchen.
Yeah, it goes
right. You're losing
all
everything.
The way. Yeah.
So your big loss there is the bass, which you've worked really hard at correcting. But that's where you need more power. But I think your pans and everything, and the action you're getting from your bass speakers and your overheads is probably pretty damn close to what you should have.
It's very clear. It's very defined. It is the bass where, even after everything I've done, it's still not where I think it should be. But yeah, my Atmos, the sound, the pans, the separation is great, know. And again, I don't have optimal placement even of my overhead speakers or, everything is workarounds to ceiling fans, just things that are in the way and, keep it from being ideal. But, like I said, like you always say, EQ takes care of a lot of that stuff. Even if they're not in the perfect spots, it jacks up the volume of one, lowers the volume of the other. Right. It tries to keep it, where it needs to be. But it's challenging for sure.
Yeah.
But reference level all the way when I can. So.
Yeah. And you bring up a great point, too. It's like reference level is great for discs, for physical media. Everything else, it's an open, it's like the Wild West. Like you said, AMC's as loud as can be, HBO Max might be this, and Disney Plus might be this. The only thing you can use reference level for there is to see how far off it is from the disc, really, is what it is. And it's like we say all the time with streaming, you're like, oh, you got to bump it up about 5
I would say
dB.
Sometimes I'm +5, +7 on some of those streamers.
Same
to
here.
Try to get to reference level. So.
And that's what's nice about having that reference level. But you can still use that. I've had that conversation with multiple listeners. Like if I pump it +5, you can do the same as long as you have a consistent number that like if you're always listening at -10 on a disc, every disc you're going to be able to grade the discs just like I do, because that's the consistent sound that you get. So if it's not as loud, like a Ragnarok disc, you're going to be like, wow, I got to bump that up a little bit. I might go to -5 on this disc where I'd go to +5, right? So it's like, that, you can still do all that. You're not missing anything. And I don't think, like, if it hurts in your room, you really aren't missing anything. You're getting everything. It's just coming back at. So you got to dial that back, and now you're probably getting what I'm getting in my room. I would think, especially if you have like a dynamic EQ or something. So, but it's a great question. So, and it comes up all the time.
Yeah.
Let's see. Another quick one from Jonathan. I'll say Banshees of Inisherin.
Yeah.
He heard Rob talking about it on AV Rant. Rob really liked it as well. It is just a great movie. And he said, Jonathan mentioned it is a great film. It's a little dark for his typical taste. But one of the things he did like was that the creepy old witch hanging around, which I mentioned back to him. I thought that was fantastic. It was a great add to the movie. That until he had just said that, I'm like, I didn't even think about that. You don't even need that character, right? Because if she's not in there, it's still a great movie. The story's still the same, but it's just that little bit extra. It added more color to the movie, a little bit more to that movie. I just thought was really good. So, but he is going to see Under the Bridges.
Yeah. You realize, DJ, if we don't explain that, there's going to be people like searching Amazon for Under the Bridges and wondering what the hell we're on about.
What is it? How do you say it?
In Bruges?
In Bruges?
Yeah,
in Bruges?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
It's Bruges is the name of the place.
Okay.
So they are in Bruges. It's in Belgium.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't.
So
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So literally, they are in Bruges. The whole film takes place in Bruges.
Oh,
so that's what it's for. Yeah.
Okay. John, you want to read the next one?
Yeah, Van Gool comments also on Banshees of Inisherin, not sure. Great podcast. Jay is my real name I use in my email, and Van Gool is my YouTube name. I want to expand on the question you answered. Do you think we are getting the best audio with the receivers like with Neural X? Do you think we will get anything better, like DJ said, speakers in the floor? I mean, I'm not sure. I think we're getting the best sound we can get with today's technology. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, we don't know what tomorrow brings. So,
well,
I mean, if
Steve,
when they do one in the floor, DJ, you're going to be the one that says, "Hang about, I should have patented that." Because you've been talking about in-floor audio forever.
Right.
Well, I said it with Carl on Tuesday. I'm like, in Tuesday's podcast, because I'm like, people have said that a lot of like what you just said, Steve. Like, oh, DJ thought of that a while ago. No, DJ didn't think of it. It was deduction. There's nothing left.
Right.
It's the only level not covered. It's like I'm not a genius. It's the only. Well, okay, we got them here. Where else can we go? Oh, down there. Okay. I do think they are coming. I mean, I keep people send me diagrams all the time of new content or new codecs that are going to have floor speakers. Well, whether it's from Trinov or Storm or something, the higher ends are exploring it and putting out media saying that, oh, look at this, and people notice that. So I do think someday we will get that. Like I said, I talked to it a little bit about it with Carl the other day, but I think we will get something better someday. because that's just the nature. Nobody just, like the conversation I had with Travis, and he's like, I'm done, right? He gets a new projector and he's done in home theater. He'll maxed out. And I was like, I'll take that bet because the nature, it's always improving. It's like, that would be like saying a company said, we just invented our best, like if JVC said, we're out, we just did the best projector ever. We're done. No more. Well, how are they going to make money now? Right. Everybody's trying to make money. Everybody's pushing the envelope. Everybody wants to do something better. We will get better sound. We will get better picture somehow, some way. Ways we don't know yet. And that's what, back in the 80s, we had no idea what 4K was.
Right.
Never mind.
We had top of the line in the 80s. Like there's always a top of the line.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So,
until there's not.
Yeah.
Or until something else becomes it. Right.
It is getting harder and harder to advance, though, because we're getting past the point of perception. So, but there will be something. So, and if it's not, they'll make it up and we'll think it's better. So, all right. Let's go through recap. This is Jonathan again. I'm just going to recap this quick. Jonathan, CDEN cinema viewings this past weekend. Banshees of Inisherin, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, 4K disc. Growing up, Indiana Jones was his hero. Had not seen Crystal Skull since the theatrical release of 2008. Decided to give it 15 years later. Unfortunately, it's as awful as I remember.
Yeah.
So hard to believe Spielberg directed this direct. He said that on the plus side, the disc looked amazing with fantastic detail. Soundtrack was great. And of course, the music is classic. So DC League of Super Pets, watched this on HBO Max with his son. Entertaining enough to mostly keep his attention. 4K stream looked really good. But on disc, it would have been better, poppier colors. Atmos track was fine for a stream, but it can never match what it would be on a disc. Chernobyl 4K Blu-ray in HBO miniseries. He had watched this through twice. He thinks it's the best series show ever made. Watched on the stream the first 2 times, and now watching on disc. Visually, it's a difficult review for me because it's intentionally made to look dull, gray, depressed, etc. And it's a lot of darkness, smoke, rain. I didn't necessarily think the visuals were a big leap from the stream, but the sound was amazing. It's DTS Master Audio. In the first 2 episodes during the aftermath of the explosion, there is a consistent, loud, atmospheric humming throughout the soundtrack. It came through amazing on the disc and really added to the scenes. So great breakdown there of Chernobyl, Jonathan. Really like that. I started that series with my wife. She couldn't stay on, so I didn't, but I want to finish it. And honestly, right now, the only thing I'm waiting for is I'm hoping it drops on Kaleidescape soon in the 4K, because it's not right now. It's just in HD.
It's excellent, but
yeah,
it's not one you go on at what. Like, I wouldn't know that I've even would watch it 3 times. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wouldn't spend a lot of extra money on the 4K either. I mean, Jonathan's absolutely right. It's been shot to look like a Soviet era series. I mean, it's supposed to look a bit rubbish. So I can't imagine 4K is going to change that at all. So it might be one that if it's just available in 1080p, just spring for that. But
then I'd get the upgrade anyways when it came out.
Yeah, well, quite. I enjoyed it. I'm not sure I'd rush back to watch it again. I think I'm a bit like you, John. It was gripping.
Yeah,
and I learned something whilst watching it, but it's also very depressing.
Yeah,
and so I'm not entirely certain I want to kind of put myself through that again if I can avoid it. Right. Yeah, it's one of those. It's a very
well. He had just finished League of Super Pets, so he had to bring himself back down.
He had to bring himself down. Yeah, and I watched it on HBO Max as well, and I found the quality to be fine there. Again, I'm sure sound is much improved on disc, but visually, it probably doesn't change much.
Yeah.
So.
Last comment. Did you guys see this on Twitter? Mark V and the Billy Idol. I only threw it in here because I thought that was great. I had never heard of that. So for people listening that don't know what we're talking about, Mark V tweeted out that Billy Idol was up for the role that Robert Patrick got of the T-1000 in Terminator 2. And he had a couple of pictures with it. And the one thing that kept going through my mind with that is I don't think it would have worked. Because the idea of the T-1000 was that it could, like, he could be anybody, right? And even, like, Robert Patrick looked like an everyman. That's why he didn't look like Schwarzenegger. He wasn't that big beef. He didn't stick out. Billy Idol doesn't look like everyman. It's like like, what are you going to dress him down?
You don't know whether he would have dyed his hair and whether he would have, had it all slicked down. I mean, depending on light, as we've said before, depending on lighting and hairstyle and everything else. I mean, having said that, there's a reason he wasn't chosen. But you'd think that could be made to look threatening, I suppose, in that way. But Cameron chose wisely.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. So, but yeah, I thought that was interesting. I had never heard that before, so I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah. Pretty cool. All right, we ready to get to 4Ks for the week? Mm-hmm. All right, coming February 14th. Not a lot. They know everybody's going to be out celebrating, right?
Out having dinner, right? Can't afford to buy movies.
Including us.
Right? Yes, that is right. I made my...
Not all together. Not all together.
Not all together, no. We spend enough time on the bus bench. Yeah. I got my reservation. We had to make reservations at our favorite restaurant. They're serving prime rib. So
nice.
I got mine, sir, reserved. I might reserve 2.
I tried to get a table at McDonald's, but they wouldn't. They weren't taking reservations. It's such a
not at the time. No. Oh, that's too bad.
That's crazy.
I had to go to 3 restaurants to get a reservation because I waited too long.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that stinks.
And it was already like 9 days before Valentine's Day.
Wow.
So I did get one though.
Burger King?
I'm not going to be dead. No, not Burger King.
I'm not going to be dead.
Wow.
Next bus bench just got shorter.
That's right. It's down to 2.
Somebody didn't get their reservation in time.
Yeah.
Carl on the live chat is asking if it's vegan prime rib, DJ.
No way. No, I eat meat, real meat. The bloodier, the better. John knows. That's how I order it.
I do.
Every time I go out, they ask me as rare as possible. It's the best answer.
Do you call it blue over there? So if you say
we
the
don't.
rarest
No,
thing
up in
blue,
Montreal they
blue.
do. In Montreal, when I go to Montreal with the hockey team, it's like the running joke. I'm the only one on the team that eats it that way. But they're like, "Are you going to get it blue?" Watch it, guys that haven't gone up with us before. Watch what he orders. I'll get a prime rib on Saturday night after all our games are done, and then we just go home the next morning. And I order my prime rib, and they're like, "Watch what he get," and it's like raw inside. It's just
I get it pretty rare too, and even I can't.
Great.
I can't handle that.
I had a friend once who routinely, when he's asked in a restaurant, how do you want your steak? He says, pull the horns off, wipe its ass, and stick it on the plate.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
A good vet can have it walking in a few minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, my buddy used to say, "Oh, you want to see the marks where the jockey was hitting it?"
Yeah.
Which is a horse.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah.
But that's what he used to say. He's like, he had a restaurant. But yeah, I love, no vegan for me. Ugh.
There used to be when we used to visit Braintree, when we used to stay there. So South Boston, wasn't it? That's where we used to visit when we came over after I'd been there in '98. We used to stay there because it was a Motel 6, and we'd stay there, and then there's a Best Buy literally across the road. And then but next to the Motel 6 was a steakhouse. And in the US, you guys have steaks that you just cannot get here. I mean, they did a steak that was a foot long.
Well, you're in the land of excess.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, you could cut the steak with a credit card. You could have as many fries as you wanted, as much salad and blue cheese dressing as you wanted, all for about $15. It was incredible. Never had steak like it.
Yeah.
And at the back of the restaurant was a slaughter, like was the butcher slaughter thing. Literally the cows would come in the back and then they'd serve them at the front. So again, they just don't do that here.
No, my buddy, when he had his restaurant, they asked him if he wanted any fresh veal at the convent in town, in Franklin. And he said, yeah, come and pick it up. So he's like, he was my neighbor growing up. He's like, oh, let's go. We're going to get some fresh veal. He had a Toyota 4Runner. We're driving back to his restaurant with Norman in the back. Live calf.
Doesn't get any fresher.
Doesn't get any fresher. We had to bring it to our Butchie, his name's Butchie, and have it quartered. I was like, that was the worst drive of my life.
Yeah.
I was like, because I love animals, but it's so delicious. But when they're so cute, you're like, ugh. Yeah. But I was eating Norman later that night.
Nelson.
Not Nelson. Yeah, we named him. That was Norman from City Slickers, right? The name of the little calf? Yeah, Norman. Anyways, February 14th, we got The Fabelmans 4K 2022. And we have the Strange World disc from Disney coming, both in a standard 4K release and a Steelbook release. And that's it, guys. That's all you got to watch. Then you can get out to your dinners.
Nice.
All right.
I've seen Strange World. I thought it was very boring indeed.
Really?
Poor for Disney.
I haven't seen it.
Gosh, it's dull as dishwater. Very, very dull. It's such
you
a
haven't
shame.
seen my dishwater.
Yeah, well, apparently it's got calves floating in it. But
Norman.
That was quick. I like
that. But yeah, no, Strange World is not worth picking up. If anyone wants my view, not that they care, but anyone listening, Strange World is very disappointing. Watch it on Disney Plus first. Don't go buying the 4K disc blind. It's not great, and I've got a pretty good tolerance for animated stuff, but it's very by the numbers. I'm sorry to say, I thought it was going to be great, but yeah, it's not great.
No, okay. I won't be buying that one.
It bombed in the theaters.
Did it? Rightly so. You can see why.
Ooh, okay. That's too bad.
Downer.
All right. Welcome back to the bright side. All right.
Like
there you go. Exactly. All right. Well, that's it for 4K for Tuesday the 14th. Let's move on to our real HT experiences. John, Steve, why don't you go first, but we'll save your first one for last because I'm thinking show title.
Yeah, absolutely.
So why don't you go with your second one since John and I each have like three.
Okay, so this one's called, over here, it's called 8 for Silver, which was the original title of the film, but it's not over there. It was released as Cursed, which is surprisingly enough, it's a horror film, which is only available on Blu-ray as far as I know, and that includes over there. I don't know whether you guys have got that on Kaleidescape or not, but it's only Blu-ray everywhere as far as I know. It's 2021 film. Sorry, 2020 it was shot, released in 2021. A gothic werewolf movie, and it's great. So very, very atmospheric, really kind of creepy. It's got a Boyd Holbrook is in it doing a very creditable English accent, it has to be said. And it's really good, a really fun gothic horror film. A bit like Sleepy Hollow if you removed all the jokes. It's a proper kind of old school thing, and it's really good. And in terms of the home theater side of it, now bear in mind it's only 1080p. So of course, lots of fog, lots of dark scenes, but it handles it okay. It still looks very nice. I put some pictures up on Twitter, just for Omar as always, so those are up on there. So if you want to have a little look at that, it's worth seeing. But the audio is very nice indeed, and I upmixed it to Neural X, surprise. But there's a lovely little bit in the first maybe 10 minutes. There is a very cool scene where. And you've got a character who is the mother who is downstairs in this big old sort of gothic house mansion. There are kids playing upstairs, and she shouts out to the kids and says, "Come on down, come down." And the kids can be heard in the front left upper part of the speaker or of the room, as it were, and you can hear them run diagonally over the screen, right to the rear right. They then come down and come back into the room. And so you get this incredible hemispheric sound, and then they come into the room behind you. And I've not heard that in Neuralex before. That's not just we'll throw a sound into the upper speaker. This has a whole pan to it. It's really clever. I played it back about 4 or 5 times because I thought, am I hearing something? But no, it does it each time. It's really, really clever. And there are some great things during it. You know, you've got the usual wolf howls and you've got gunshots and stuff going off. But I really recommend this. If you're a horror fan, I know you guys sometimes are, it is really worth seeing. It's quite graphic, it's quite gory as well. It's got all the usual stuff, but it's really decent. Any luck finding that, Deej? Is that on Kaleidescape? Have you been looking?
It is not on Kaleidescape. It is out on Blu-ray over here.
Yeah, you've had it longer than we have.
It came out May 10th. It came out May 10th.
Yeah.
It's from Decal Releasing. That's why it's not on Kaleidescape. It's called The Cursed. You can find it, and it's selling new on Amazon for from as low as $6.96, or standard price is $12.99. Still doesn't sound bad. But yeah, it is available. So yeah, that does sound interesting though. The sound.
Yeah, I mean, that sound.
I've bought worse for sound.
Beginning was great. Yeah. Well, quite. Yeah. It's fun. It's really fun. I really enjoyed it. And again, if you want to see some of the pictures, I've stuck it up on my Twitter feed. And it's really well done. So yeah, definitely recommend that.
Yeah. And that idea that Neural X gets back to what Van Gool said earlier, or Jay, his real name, when he asked about different sound and stuff. And we've talked about this on the podcast before. It's like when we get these older movies that come out now, they come out with DTS-X or they come out with Atmos. Is it really just been remixed, or are they doing the Neural X thing on their end and putting it on the disc? You know what I mean? Taking the 5.1 and upmixing it just with their own Neural X version and putting it on the disc and then calling it DTS-X or Atmos, and then we get it on our end. Because like you said with this movie, it's like Neural X or even Dolby Surround, they upmix so well to utilize your entire room to move those sounds, which is exactly what object-based is supposed to do anyways. They're still moving it. It sounds really good. It's getting more and more, harder to discern the difference between a real Atmos disc and a good upmixed version, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, this one particularly does it. As I say, I mean, there
cool.
are lots of different scenes, but that one in particular was great. Yeah, really like that.
Cool. All right, John, next.
All right, yeah. So this is my non-tweak / new experience.
Oh, I know. I'm excited for this.
So I watched Star Trek Into Darkness in 3D. So for those that don't know, the AWOL projector got a 3D update a couple months back. And I'm not a 3D guy. I think it's gimmicky and it's not really my thing. But I have this capability. So I figured I might as well at least experience it.
Hey, the mountain's there. You got to climb it, right?
And I've heard from multiple sources regarding this particular projector that the 3D is handled very, very well. So I found some 3D glasses on Amazon. Mom says, "What do you want for your birthday?" I send her a link. Lo and behold, I've got some 3D glasses. So,
happy birthday! That was like a couple weeks ago. Sorry, buddy.
Couple weeks back.
Yeah. I texted you that day.
No worries. I wasn't fishing for happy birthdays, but I didn't want to pay for these. I also didn't want to buy myself the glasses because I probably won't use them a lot. But
right.
I'll happily get them as a birthday gift. So, so I don't own a lot of 3D movies, but Star Trek Into Darkness is one that I had, and I thought that just the nature of that type of movie, Star Trek space explosions, flying around, in debris fields and things would be great for 3D. I didn't find it so, though. So either the projector does not do 3D very well, or the film wasn't executed in 3D very well, or I did something else wrong, but I did not really find the experience to be that great in 3D. It didn't really feel like there was a lot of separation and things popping off the screen. And I did to the point where I even had to check and switched out the glasses I was using and stopped and, tried some different things to make sure I was even getting 3D. So I will go back to the drawing board and try out. I've got 2 or 3 other movies that I own that I'll check out before I kind of walk away from this. Because like I said, I'm not going to go out of my way to buy more 3D movies or anything like that. That all being said, Star Trek 2 gets the bad rap as being the worst of the 3 Star Trek movies.
Really? I love that movie.
I watched it again, and I actually really enjoyed it. Benedict Cumberbatch's take is not the same as Ricardo Montalban, but I thought it was actually serviceable, and I really enjoyed the movie itself. I just was a little disappointed with the 3D experience. So I can't pinpoint whether it was equipment or movie or user error until I play with it some more. But so that was my tweak /
that's a great
experience. One. Yeah, for the week.
It was a post conversion, so it wasn't shot in 3D, which is always a bit of a gamble, isn't it? Funny enough, I watched something in 3D that I haven't seen. I mean, I haven't watched anything in 3D for years. I've got over 200 3D Blu-rays, and yet I used to be all in on it. One of the reasons I bought the TV I've got now, as I've said before, was for 3D, and I wanted to watch, or had occasion to watch with someone, an IMAX documentary on Egypt and the mummies. And so I thought, and this person had been studying it, and I thought, you know what, great idea. Let's got 3D. A disc, and it's in 3D. So now I've got the chance to make Egypt come alive. So chuck them on, the pyramid stage, So so I thought, right, I'll chuck this on, and watched it in 3D, and I'm sat there thinking, there's depth to the image, there is stuff coming off the screen, but it's gimmicky as hell, and I'd rather be watching this in 4K. And I just, I've passed 3D by, unfortunately, I think.
And I'm not even sure the movies I do have are going to be any better. Like I have Underworld, Spider-Man 2, and Alice in Wonderland, the Johnny Depp, which I think was 3D. I think that was 3D in the theater. So that's probably the one I'll watch next, just to. Oh, and Alita Battle Angel has a 3D disc.
That one is awesome.
So maybe I'll try that one.
Try that one next, and then if you don't think that one is good, then I would say it's not doing it as well. Yeah, it's not impressing you, because I watched that movie and I'm like, I did that movie on the podcast. I reviewed the 3D, the 4K, and everything, and the 3D on that is great. It's so enveloping. It's and again, I don't know if you're expecting Jaws 3D and the things come at you. It's not like that. It's just more of you can see into the screen.
In Star Trek, there's ships exploding and debris. Yeah. Like in 3D, you expect something to come. Like I want to move back because it feels like something's going to hit me in the face or what have you.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm expecting too much. Like you said, maybe that's just not the state of current 3D. But
if you can pick up a cheap copy of Avatar in 3D, that's the other one, which is I know you don't like the film.
I don't, but I did look for that.
That's pretty good.
But around $40 is the cheapest I can get it in 3D, and I'm not that into it.
I actually, when I got my projector, that was this is my first projector with 3D, and I was excited. I went all in, and I'm probably up to like 50 titles myself.
I know you bought a lot. You had a little crate, a little phase there not too long ago.
Oh yeah. I love it. WV Brews loves it. He emails all the time about different 3Ds. He's still all in. And I am to a degree, but I'm a little bit more closer to like what Steve said. It's like, I love it. But at the same time, there is that convenience factor of just sitting down with 4K, because 4K does look fantastic.
Right. And, you get your Atmos track in 4K, which you don't get in 3D.
But on... Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the one that we were talking about, that one is in Atmos. It's 3D really? With an Atmos track. It's like the one from 2014. I forget the name.
If I can't get there with the 4 movies that I own, I'm out, because I said,
try Alita next. That's that one I can. I'll attest to that. That's a fantastic 3D experience.
Well, maybe next week we'll be reporting. Well, next week we're not going to be on the show, so 21st.
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
I'll report on.
Well, let me know when
you.
you watch it. I'll watch it too, and then we can compare. That'll be
right.
good because I wouldn't mind sitting down to do that one again. I haven't done that in years.
I mean, a good 4K disc can look as three-dimensional as a 3D movie, and you don't in terms of into the screen, obviously not out of the screen, but you really can get the window effect with an even half decent 4K film, and so it removes that, and you've got the beautiful bright colors and everything else, no flickering or anything like that as well, which occasionally you'll get, and and you don't have to then put up with watching it with other people moaning about the fact they've got to wear glasses,
right?
So that's because that irritates the hell out of me as well when someone starts doing that. So
it could be the glasses too. Maybe they're not the best. I don't know.
Maybe they weren't engaged.
No, they were engaged because, I took them off, and it looked like a 3D. You could see that it was all. When I put them on, I mean, everything was clear. I knew that it was improving the picture and that it was engaged. It just didn't feel very I just didn't feel the depth like I thought I should. But again, maybe have either too high expectations, or maybe the movie just is poorly executed.
Avengers, I got in 3D, and that's not very good either. That one's that's like Steve said, like a remaster. It's like post conversion.
Although the city attack at the end is not bad.
It's not bad, but by the time you get there, you're so out of 3D that it's just fair enough. In the 4K,
you've already switched it over to 4K and just
and it's like I didn't put it in my notes for this week, but I've watched Avengers over the past week probably 3 times. Because I'm putting it on at night in my room, and then because I did that to fall asleep to, I come down and during the day and I'm watching different scenes. And one of the things I thought of this week, it's funny we're talking about 3D, is that Avengers from 2012 was one of the first, I think it was the first demo I saw a 4K TV. And 4K HDR. We didn't have 4K content. Hey Dan, he can't stay long. He's just saying hi. Danny Speakers. Hey Dan. But we didn't have it yet. We didn't know. All we had was 1080p at home at best. And I'd be willing to bet that at the time I'm seeing this, I probably had a 720 projector. Right? With no HDR. My black levels at home weren't that good. So I'm here I'm seeing a demo of a 4K, giant 4K television. It was probably 70-inch. And I'm like, there was no motion smoothing or anything that I know of on, but it just looks so 3D and lifelike compared to everything else we knew at the time. And I think we're taking that for granted now. Right? Because it still looks great. Our displays look fantastic, but it doesn't have that pop of if you just went back to everything you saw was 720, right? And the black levels just aren't the same. It's like, but now I remember, the scene at the end, one of the demos they had was when Tony Stark shows up and Loki is in his place, right? And he's walking around. And I just remember it felt like you could reach in the television and touch the items on the table that he was touching. And the texture of Loki's costume and everything. It just, I still remember exactly where I was standing. I didn't want to sit in the chair behind me. I just sat there and I'm staring at this and I'm like, it felt like I could reach in. And it's like, but it's not the same today. We take it for granted, but it's the same thing. That's what we're getting. And the best part is this was probably 2014, 2015 when it first, something like that. So 8 years ago? And now I'm getting it here on a giant screen. And I'm like, and you're like, we want better now. It's just like, but I still remember that.
Yeah. Every time for me, it's the Warner Brothers logo on a 4K disc. When that comes on, it's always so bright, so detailed. I've never got sick of that, and I always get kind of excited when I've got a new Warner's disc. So I'm like, oh, here we go. And that was the very first 4K content I saw, which was when I'd bought the TV. It had been put on the wall. They calibrated the audio, and I think I said to you before, I could hear it before I could see it. We could feel it in the house. Right. So I've then gone in, and then this logo came up, and it was the King Arthur, the Guy Ritchie King Arthur. And I had never seen 4K until that point, not on a properly set up screen, and my jaw hit the floor. I was just, what is? Because there's a little fight. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but there's a little thing at the beginning where a little boy fights a sort of knight who's got a flaming sword and sort of pulls this sword out, and of course with the HDR and everything else, it was just like, it's a new dawn. I was absolutely blown away. So yeah, every time I see that, there's a reason that on the pictures that we've got of Cinema George on the website and stuff, it's the Warner's logo.
Yeah.
And that's the reason, because it just always looks so good.
Well, it's it's just a contrast of colors, because you got the gold against the blue. It's just, it's fantastic.
Right.
Fantastic.
Really bright.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Good job, John. Wow.
Yeah.
Sparked a conversation there.
I did. Yeah.
All right. All right. Going, my first one, I will go with the oldie but goodie.
Yeah.
I had to. So before I tell everybody what it is, you guys are laughing, but I said we had a bunch of meetings about the house. We had a bunch of planning stuff and budget stuff and meeting with my family, and very, very stressful week. And I said to my wife, I'm like, I got to go downstairs. She's like, what are you going to do? I'm like, I don't know. I just got to relax. So I go downstairs, turn the system on, sitting there, and it was like a warm blanket.
It's just like comfort food.
Oh my God. It was incredible. I just put on Star Wars: A New Hope, and I was just like, the lightsaber lighting up. Hearing, in every time, I didn't stamp anything. I didn't have a blanket, but it was just so comforting, just so nice to sit there and just watch these scenes. And then I'm looking at these characters, and of course, like you mentioned Shrinking earlier, right? And I'm watching that series as well on, what is it, Apple TV? Is that Apple TV Plus? Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm watching that as well. And every scene with Harrison Ford, are these people like, this is Harrison Ford, right? Like, it's a show, but it's like, this is the first show he's ever done. And but like we talked about it.
Yeah, it's 1912, 1923.
Yeah, but is that a show like this is a show? This is like a sitcom, kind of.
It's an hour-long drama. It's
right.
Just Yellowstone. I mean.
Yeah, I just felt like that's more of a production than this seems to be.
It is.
You know what I mean?
A little more cinematic probably than this is.
But this is like these characters are like acting like in a dramedy or whatever you want to call it with it. Like, do they have to like step aside and go, that's Han Solo?
Right.
Right? Because they're all like, all the actors in it are our age, right? Or younger. So they're all like, oh my God, that's Indiana Jones. That's Harrison. That's like, Han Solo. So I go and watch, Star Wars, and I'm like, I'm watching this, and I'm just like, and it's funny. My son came down. He came home that night, and I'm still just at the end of it, and he came running in the room and sat down, and he's like, oh, is this a new one? He's joking, but it was literally the end scene when they were giving the awards, and then we made the joke, oh, Chewie doesn't get one, and blah, blah, blah. But just looking at these characters, and then we replayed the scene. I didn't stamp it. I'm just going off of memory right now of like my son and I's conversation. When Luke is getting out of his X-Wing, right, after the Death Star explodes, listen, go there, and John, next time you get a chance, especially at reference level, right, listen to the clapping. It sounds like about 4 guys in an empty room.
Oh, really?
It's so funny.
It probably was.
It probably was, right? But it's like, we just like burst out laughing, and it's like, that's what's fun about going back to these old movies. Like, we know the story, we know everything, but all of a sudden, like, that jumps out at you.
Right.
Like, but it literally sounded like 4 guys. We're like, it sounds so dead. Like, yay. It's like, what the hell was that? Oh, yeah. But it was just so much fun to watch, and the explosions so much better than we remember. But I mean, I could go on and on, but it just was so nice. It came upstairs, and I went to bed. My wife's like, you feel better? I'm like, much better.
Yes.
Much better. I can face the world now.
Yeah. Have you read the story about as they walk down the temple at Yavin 4 in the when the music's playing to get their medals? Have you read I think it was Mark Hamill who said that obviously when they were filming it, they had no idea what they had, and everyone just thought it was some dopey space film, that it was going to be nothing. But of course, you had an all-British crew that had been involved in it, and the Brits, of course, are very, very sardonic, and they just thought, you've got a lot of Americans coming over making some dopey space thing. What the hell? And as they were walking down, you had a load of the crew are dressed up as the soldiers either side of them. And as they're walking down, you've got all the British people. So they're all, you've got the main characters. It's supposed to be a joyous celebration, isn't it? It's all a proud moment. And Mark Hamill said, as they're walking down, you've got the British crew all under their breath go, wanker. Prick, wanker, prick. They're walking down, and they're trying not to, just typical kind of.
Oh, that's great. People. That's great.
Yeah, so they were making their views felt. I mean, it is a jokey way, but just a funny thing.
Oh yeah, that's funny. That's good. Yeah, stuff like that. But yeah, I'll watch it again probably soon. I'll probably watch it many times this year. It's like,
because it depends on when you get your theater set up too, right?
Well, I'll come home here, and like I said, it just like watching Avengers 2 as well.
Right.
Just watching stuff like that, familiar stuff, and because I just we have I can't tell you. Well, I've told John a lot of them, but how many movies I've bought, and it's just like when you start to get a little stressed elsewhere, you're like, last thing I want to do is sit down and concentrate on a movie, but I still want to enjoy my theater. So it's just easier to be like, oh, okay, I'll just, I'll just watch this again and just enjoy it and try and pull out some fun stuff out of it. So, yeah. So that's my first one of the week.
Awesome.
All right, Steve, your next one?
Yeah. So this was a random rewatch. I don't know what made me think of watching this necessarily. Just it popped into my head one evening. So this was Southpaw, the Jake Gyllenhaal Rocky movie, basically, which got, and I don't know, have you guys both seen it? Or
I have, but a while back.
A while ago.
I don't really remember it much, but I know I've seen it.
I remember he got in great shape.
Yeah, he's ripped for this. There's absolutely no doubt about it. I do know why it was. Is because I read on IMDb on the trivia thing. Obviously, I watched 8 Mile last week.
We do know that.
Danny Speakers just said in live chat that he thought my rap was fantastic. So I'm just saying, guys. Anyway, so the reason I came to this is because Eminem was supposed to star in this. Southpaw was supposed to have been an unofficial sort of follow-up, not a sequel, but a follow-up to 8 Mile, and he was cast and was filming it, and then decided that he wanted to focus more on his music career, which probably suggests he wasn't up to it physically.
Right.
And so they cast Jake Gyllenhaal. So if you think of the shape he got in, how quickly he must have had to do that if they were already filming. Anyway, so I've seen it before, not seen it for a long time, and always think it was good film. Oh, that's why Eminem's all over the soundtrack, by the way. So because he was going to be, like he does with 8 Mile, he was doing the music and then going to be in the film as well. And it's very cliched. I mean, I could get you to write on the back of a napkin 30 seconds in what happens, and you'd be able to get it, I'm sure, 100% right. But that does not make it any less enjoyable. These sorts of movies, again, we talked about sport movies weeks and weeks ago, didn't we?
Yeah.
Right.
This is one of those that is right up there for me. It's actually a really, really good movie, and Jake Gyllenhaal's fantastic in it. So it's a really good film. What I had forgotten, because I don't think I'd ever seen it in the cinema room, is just how good the disc is. So it's a 1080p disc, upmixed to Neural X, surprise, surprise. It looks stunning. They've shot this to within an inch of its life. I don't know if it's available in Kaleidescape in 4K. If it is,
Probably.
I will be immediately jealous, because the Blu-ray looks exceptional. This must have been shot at 4 or 8K. It must have been, because it is razor sharp, and all the injuries and all the makeup and all the little cuts and everything else just looks stunning. And then the only thing better than the video is the audio, and it upmixes beautifully. All the crowds and everything else, suddenly you feel like, forget feeling like you're in a field DJ, you feel like you're in Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
because there's all this stuff around you and you can hear the crowd swelling and moving and all this kind of stuff. It's really, really good. And of course, all the music as well. I mean, the rapping leaves a bit to be desired. And obviously, I like to think I'd know. Right. But other than that, it's really, really good. I can't recommend this disc enough. If you haven't seen it for a while or not watched it since you guys have had your big screens, then dig it out. It'll be dirt cheap if you haven't already got it. And give it a watch because it's really, really good. And of course, we've got the Rocky box set coming soon, haven't we, next month?
Right.
So this is quite a nice kind of appetite wetter, ready for that.
Yeah.
It's good, really good. I enjoyed it much more than I thought I would. So it's great, guys. So give it a go. Any sign of it, Deej?
Oh, there's a big sign of it. I just bought it.
Okay.
Oh, jeez.
But because I just bought it, I have to slow
Delete
down
something.
my downloads here. I have to pause it because you guys are getting all broken up over here because the Kaleidescape just is like, okay, we'll download that for you. I'm like, hold the phone. Like, as you were talking, your voice came through, but you started to freeze. And it's like, that's how instantaneous, like, it'll suck the life out of your system.
I was just messing with you, Deej, every now and then, just
yeah, exactly.
Just not maybe just having a bit of fun with you,
Yeah.
Oh. But no, it's really good, guys.
Yeah.
Really good. And a great disc. Is it in 4K, DJ? Is that
No,
1080p?
HD.
It'll get a 4K release.
I hope so.
Definitely will, sooner or later. It's bound to.
Yeah, it's HD, DTS Master Audio 5.1.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's a great movie anyways. But even the image they have, the black and white with the red gloves image, it's beautiful. But yeah,
and again, I put some pics on Twitter. It's
Yeah.
really, really nice. One of those films. Sometimes when I'm doing these things, I have to really pick my moments and get the photos. Other films, you could just pretty much take, any screen grab from the entire movie, and this is one of those. It's really good.
Yeah. So with that, speaking of Rocky, just as a sneak peek, I took a look at. I have the Rocky versus Drago version on Kaleidescape, which is in 4K.
Yeah, stayed away from it. Yeah, I can't wait for that.
Yeah, so that's in 4K, and I watched a couple of the scenes. I haven't watched the full movie yet, but the scenes that I saw, which are like basically music videos, like his training montage, it looks spectacular in 4K.
Yeah.
I really, really like it, and it sounds fantastic. The there's different instruments at the back of the room. It just sounded amazing. And like, when he's in the barn and he's working out and the light coming in from the background, you get that nice haze and the light cutting through it. And then of course he's all like, Vaselined up or whatever, sweaty, but it just looks so good. I'm really looking forward to that entire box set in 4K.
Me too.
That's going to be great.
Me too. The only thing that's slightly weird is it doesn't come with Rocky 5.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm buying it because it's incomplete.
Now, 5 is the worst of them all by some distance, but it would still be nice to have it. I mean, obviously, I've got Rocky Balboa in 4K. I've got Rocky, and then obviously Creed 1 and 2 and all that stuff. So I've got those. But not got.
So is that how they're breaking it up? Like 5 to Creed is the next 4, and it's like is that how it works?
But of course, we've already got Creed in 4K and Creed 2. So it's like, but 1 to 4 are the good ones. So I'm gonna buy it. I've got to have those.
Yeah.
I love Rocky. Well, 1, 2, 3, and 4, but 4 in particular.
Oh yeah, I do as well.
I think if I had to rank them, I would say,
as soon as you buy it, then there's going to be another box set in a year. It's got 5 and 6 in it. Right, that's what I'm saying. So it's like Star Trek. They did that with Star Trek as well. So
I've got to get it. I haven't seen Rocky versus Drago, so I need to see that.
I haven't seen it either.
I know every frame of Rocky 4, backwards, sideways, up, down. So
but is that part of the box set?
Yeah.
Oh, it is?
Separate discs.
Okay.
Yeah, the separate discs in 4K. So that's worth it. It's £60 over here. It's worth it just for that. I'd pay it just for that film, let alone all of them in 4K. So I can't wait. That's going to be a fun rewatch.
Yeah, I got on Kaleidescape, Rocky is in 4K, but all the others are HD except for Rocky.
But see, a box set doesn't matter to you so much because you'll just buy the digital.
Hopefully. If it comes out, if they release it.
And when 5 eventually comes out, it's not like you have a box that it doesn't fit in. You just have your Kaleidescape.
Well, I kind of do have a box that none of these fit in because I have to delete other ones from
in the box. Exactly.
So, all right. John, you want to talk about your next one? I can't wait to see what you thought of this.
Yeah, so I watched Kaleidescope, which was on Netflix, 4K, Dolby Atmos. Again, I know you talked about it a couple of weeks ago, but for anybody not familiar, this is the heist series that you can watch out of order, in order, however you want to watch it, and still get the get the whole experience. So yeah, I thought it was great. Really, really liked it. What I found out, because when you were talking about it, we kind of both looked at Netflix to see, what the order was, and it was the same for all three of us. The way this works is that once you watch episode 1, which is basically just the teaser, it's like 2 minutes long and it tells you what you're going to get, then Netflix just randomizes the episodes for everybody that watches it.
That's black.
So black
right?
is the first one, right? And it's basically like 2 minutes long, and it just says, this is what your Kaleidescope experience is going to be. And then you just hit next, and it's different for every user from there.
Oh, okay.
But what I did find, and I guess this was just random and just happened to me, I got episodes 7, 8, and 9 in order. 7, 8, and 9. So
at
my last
end.
3 episodes, I got at the end in the order that they were listed. I don't know if everybody gets them that way, but basically my last episode ended up being the heist itself. Was the last episode I saw, which I
but
thought
chronologically,
would be,
that's not the last episode.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. But I watched all 8 episodes without actually seeing the heist. And then the last episode I watched was the heist itself.
Oh, then that's not the that's how I did it too. But see, is that what they're calling the last episode? Because that would, if you went chronologically, that would have been like episode 7.
Right, but episode 9, it is listed by Netflix as number 9.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like if you look at Netflix, just look up the show, it tells you what all the colors are in a specific episode order number 1 through 9.
Oh, okay. I've never seen that. Because when you put it in your thing, I texted you. I'm like, I don't even know what that means because I only know colors.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
So I was looking to find the text that I sent you that had all the colors on it. But anyways,
yeah,
it's great. I still feel like there was a couple of things left unanswered, even though, like, watching the heist last, you actually already know the ending because you get the 6 months later episode. I've already seen that, so I kind of know where everybody ends up. But even then, some of the questions I had were answered in the heist episode.
Correct. Yeah.
Which took place 6 months earlier. So yeah, it was pretty cool. At some point, I will probably do a rewatch of this in chronological order just to see if the experience is any different. But I thought this was super clever. I really, really enjoyed it. The home theater experience on this was excellent. I thought the 4K HDR was top notch on this show.
That heist wasn't that awesome?
Really, yeah, the heist was awesome. There was some bass drops throughout this whole series.
Yeah,
that really hit pretty hard, even with the stream. And yeah, this was super fun. I really recommend it if you haven't seen it. And then there's a million posts you can go look on the internet to tell you which order to watch these in. I say just let Netflix do its thing. Just hit play and let it go. It's going to be random and it doesn't matter. Like, I ended up watching it. I wrote it down just for my own records. It was like 1, 6, 4, 3, 2, 5, 7, 8, 9. So it's like completely out of order. But it doesn't matter because you are jumping around all over the place, but you're asking questions, you're answering questions. And I think you ask more questions this way than if you would have actually just watched it in chronological order. Right. Some of those questions you wouldn't have even had to ask because they would have already been answered for you.
It's kind of like Star Wars.
Yeah.
If you watch Star Wars chronologically, it takes all the fun out of it.
Right.
What we experienced back in the 70s was like, that's his sister.
Like, why is that a question? You know it's his father. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Where's all the fun?
Yeah. super fun,
That's
really
awesome.
enjoyable, and yeah, good home theater experience. So
it's funny. Braden Russell over on HT Guys, he watched it and he mentioned me in their podcast last week. He's like, DJ watched it, and because he talked about it. And I'd seen his order, and it was different from mine. So now he said in the podcast, he's like, I'm thinking of going back and watching it in DJ's order and seeing how that is. And then, and that is kind of what I went back and I watched a couple of episodes now knowing different information to see. And it's like, you can watch this in any order, and you're never going to be at the ending going, well, I know everything. And that's what's amazing when you think of every episode is going to answer a question but leave you thinking of something else.
Right. But I feel like there was still two major questions for me that went unanswered, which bugged me a little bit. But, that happens in almost every show you watch. But like I said, going into that heist episode, I had some big questions that that episode answered for me, even though it was way out of order.
And you'd already seen the quote ending.
Right.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah. So a lot of fun.
Yeah. All right.
Won't it be ironic, John, if 1, 6, 4, 3, 2, 5, 7, 8, 9 end up being the numbers that you win the Powerball with?
Exactly. 'Cause I'm going to play them.
Yeah, exactly. I'll be out playing violet, blue, green. Oh, wrong lottery.
That's the wrong lotto.
Yeah. All right. I'm up next.
Yep.
All right. Plugging along with Westworld, 4K Atmos on the Kaleidescape, and I am getting deeper and deeper into the story. Really enjoying the story. I'm especially for anybody that hasn't seen it, I don't want to give anything away, but the piano plays a big part to me in it now, symbolically. And once you get into it, maybe you'll know what I mean. But I love that little note. And then, no pun intended, but then just the storyline, how it's playing out, it's getting very intriguing to me. I've never been this far into it before. But also the picture and the sound, it is, another one from, HBO. These all came out streaming on HBO or on cable, but they do top-notch stuff on disc. No doubt about it. And it's, like I said, this one actually plays a little loud. This last episode, I did forget to turn it down, so maybe they did it. But the early episodes were like when I first started it, I couldn't handle it. I had to dial it back. But now like I said, the last episode, I think I'm on 4 or 5, season 1. And I didn't turn it back, but there's some nice sounds all over the room, discrete sounds, especially with the music, which I also think is another note to like what's going on here. Because a lot of that music you hear in the background, it's modern music put to like that Western theme. So they're recreating art with art, and just really cool. But the way they move that music around the room is really cool. Lots of fun. Lots of home theater fun out of this. Plus, I am still enjoying the story. So, haven't fallen off a cliff yet, guys. So,
All right.
I wonder what got you to watch this, Steve. Your next one.
The Meg. Yes.
Yeah.
I suddenly decided to rewatch this as well.
Was that because of my Jason Statham adventure last week?
Was it you that mentioned it? Someone mentioned Jason Statham, didn't they?
He's like that, well, isn't he? Like you start thinking of his movies and you go, I gotta watch another one.
Yeah, well, the Meg's a film I've seen, a number of times, but I haven't seen it in 4K for a while.
I've never seen it.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
I haven't either. So
okay. Well, I don't know whether to recommend it to you or not. If you like your very cheesy shark films, that's what this is, albeit with a bigger budget. So the effects are pretty good. And it's a fun, cheesy, guilty pleasure where Jason Statham plays Jason Statham. And it's like, if The Grey is Wolf Puncher, the movie, then this is Shark Puncher, the movie, kind of similar sort of stuff. It's not terribly realistic, and by not terribly I mean not in the slightest, but it is fun, and it's a fun film, and I've seen it. I must have seen it 4 or 5 times now. What is good and is recommended is the disc, because it looks, it's very high contrast, so everything is bright, and just made for 4K. And the Atmos effects are really good. It is an Atmos. By the way, guys, if you do pick up the disc, this is one of those Warner's ones that defaults to DTS-HD. So make sure anyone watching, you've got to select Atmos, otherwise you don't get that track. So watch out for that. But it is a fun one, and there are sequences where there are little underwater, like little how would you describe them? Little mini submarines, I suppose, and they move around a lot. And one of them, there's a couple of moments where it goes up and past you to the rear right speaker, and you can hear the little bubbles going past and then up into the overheads, which is a really subtle little effect that no one else without a really decent cinema room would pick up, but we do. And it's really cool, and it happens a couple of times, and you can hear it, and it's like, ooh, I heard that go right up there, So it's cool, it's fun. Yeah, it is. It's a fun, dopey, silly movie, is what I would say. And if that sounds appealing with Jason Statham in it, then definitely give it a go. It is good. It is good.
Sounds like Hurricane Heist to me, John. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, don't pay full price for it. But yeah, I enjoy it for what it is. It's good. So yeah, I recommend that.
Cool.
Yeah. So yeah, okay. Sure. I tell you what, guys. Just because I'm looking at the time, should we go straight to our title one, and then I can say, because the other two things, I don't know if you guys have seen The Last of Us episode 4. Have you seen that yet?
I have.
Yeah. I mean, that one we could always save till next time.
We could always say we could save the Last of Us. We could save. Why don't you finish? You do your last one there.
I'll do this one real
and then
quick.
We'll wrap up on our ending.
Looking at the time as well.
Yep.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. So speaking of big, dumb, silly, dopey movies, I watched Vikingulven, which is Viking Wolf. This is on Netflix. 4K HDR, 5.1 sound.
You don't have to say any more. I'm there.
This is a Norwegian movie. It is subtitled, but I watched it in its original Norwegian because that's what I do. This is a werewolf movie. So typical, the werewolf comes to a small town, starts killing people and making more werewolves. All the townspeople who say there's no such thing as werewolves figure out they need to hunt a werewolf because they've got one in their midst. Silly, dopey, doesn't make a lot of sense, but really, really fun. Not super high budget. So, like the wolf effect, like the wolf doesn't look great, but he's okay. But yeah, bloody, horror. Yeah, a lot of fun. The HDR on this looked great. I thought it really looked good. Lots of woods and ocean, Norway, it's beautiful country, looked great. Up mixes really well. Again, like you mentioned earlier, there's some good, there's wolves howling, there's gunshots. It's your typical horror fare. And yeah, Steve, I think you'll like it. It was fun. Little leave your brain at the door. It's one of those, it's a horror movie, so
it sounds like it's right up Steve's alley.
Yeah.
Wolves, horror.
Downloading it as we speak, guys.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, you're going to watch it on your iPad, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I've got some. I might have some waiting around tomorrow in between things, and this is the perfect kind of thing to watch.
It is. It is.
But to be honest, John, you had me at Viking Wolf.
Yeah. Well, that's what got me too. I was like, great title,
Yeah.
So
that's funny. And it's on Netflix. We already have that, so it doesn't cost us anything, right? So
right.
It's in the top 10.
It is in the top. A lot of people are watching it. It doesn't have the best. It's like 5.1 out of 10. So it's not. It doesn't have the best rating, but it's
oh, I thought the 5.1 was the sound.
Well, it's both. Yeah,
I know.
But yeah, I can't wait to hear what you think of it, Steve, because I know you'll watch it. So.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'll give it a go. I'll start watching it in my breaks tomorrow, and then if it's really good, I'll switch and watch it in the cinema room and watch the rest. But yeah, great recommendation. Thanks, buddy. That's a great
no problem.
Nice. All right, let's wrap up on this last one here. We got a comment to go along with it. There you go, Steve. Blue Wave. It says, good stuff, guys. You guys are under 3 hours. What the hell's going on around here?
Well, today, too.
Today, too. He's going to be really disappointed. We're going to be, nope, No, we're over 2 hours. Okay, good. He's like, I was finally able to watch Black Panther Wakanda Forever on Disney Plus. I thought the picture looked a little soft and there was something off about the audio. That's called Disney Plus. Not sure if the audio was really compressed or it just suffers from Disney Atmos. Quote. So, Steve, why don't you go first? You watched it on Disney Plus.
Yeah, because it's not out here yet. It comes out here next week.
Tomorrow.
I thought
today it comes out.
For us, it's today, right?
Today we get it here. Mine's probably here
Yeah.
right now. I was hoping to have been able to catch it before we get on here on disc, but go ahead.
So we get it next week. So I thought, well, I need to watch it because you and I, all three of us had our discussion about this, didn't we?
Yeah,
I think we were all fairly lukewarmish. I know you were a bit more up on it, I think, DJ, than perhaps John and I were from memory.
We all liked it. You guys, I just gave it a little more credit for what they had to accomplish. That's it. But we all, I think, liked it the same, right? But
yeah, I think that's fair. And so I watched it again the day it came out, so last Friday, as soon as it went up on the 1st, wasn't it? Yeah. Sorry, Tuesday, whatever it was. I can't remember.
It was Wednesday.
Friday. I thought it was
Wednesday, the 1st.
There we go.
Yep.
That'll be it then. Okay. So I watched it. It's better the second time, but not dramatically so. I think it's probably gone from, I had it probably about a 2 out of 5, probably gone to a 3 after watching it again. I still think it's lesser MCU for me. But I didn't feel the time this time that I did before. I didn't feel every minute that I did in the past. I was able to, go along with the movie much more this time. So that's good news. And I'm going to buy the disc, so it must be all right. But really, what we want to talk about is the theater experience. Now, the video, it's IMAX enhanced, is what I watched on Disney Plus. Always, obviously. Now it's odd because it does a bit of a Dark Knight. And The Dark Knight Rises, it flips between some sequences that you'd think should be an IMAX that aren't, others that you would have thought shouldn't be and that are, and it can flick in and out, and including only a couple of shots.
Yeah.
So that was weird and not welcome, unfortunately. But in terms of how it looked, I'd see exactly where Blue Wave's coming from. I think there are scenes where it looks soft, but I think that's the filming style. I don't think that is an issue, at least when I saw it. It didn't look to me to be an issue with the stream. It looked to be an issue with the way it was shot. You know how you get the some of the blurry bits at the extreme edges of the frame, whereas the middle part is perfectly fine. So it didn't look to be a problem with me. The HDR was fine. The IMAX scenes look good. There are some lovely sunsets and there's some nice. The really dark stuff is now watchable in my cinema. In the theater when I saw it, that was all grey and I couldn't tell one thing from another. Whereas that was fine when I watched it on the Disney Plus. It's dark, but I could still see everything there. That was okay. The sound was okay. It was all right. There is some bass to it. There is some kick to it, more than I had expected. Having read some of the reviews, I thought, right, well, there's going to be next to no bass, and yet there is bass. There is, and there's some nice rumbles. There's some decent stuff there. It's not Halloween Ends, and it's not King of Monsters or anything. It's not going to rearrange your room for you, but it still does have some heft to it. And it's not one I'll pick out as a demo disc. I'm not going to be, going, oh, watch this. Not on the Disney Plus version anyway. The disc might be different, but I wouldn't choose this as a demo if I'm going to demo Disney Plus. But it's okay. It's not a problem with it. There's not a mistake with it. I don't think that it's faulty in any way. It's just it could be better, but It's fine. It's fine. I thought it was okay, but I know you had a better experience with the Kaleidescape version, Deej.
Yes, yes.
So do tell.
So when this dropped, like I said, it's like we don't get pre-sales on Disney titles on Kaleidescape, so you just have to get up, see it there. And I got up, and I actually had to search it. Right. So it's like you go and you'd think it's like first thing in the morning, it would be Wakanda Forever available. Right. Nope. Right. I actually had to type in Black Panther Wakanda Forever and then it came up as available. So I got it that early in the morning that before Kaleidescape even advertised that they had it available. Grabbed it, watched it right away. And it was I I called Ralph. And so Ralph Potts had done a review on it, and I loved his review because his review is like pretty much how I feel about it, with the exception of he didn't feel like, and we had a great discussion about it, that he felt like they could have utilized the Atmos channels more to pull the sound over your head a little bit more. Like he went as far as disconnecting everything to see what was coming through the Atmos channels. And he thought that his overheads were just doing more ambient stuff when there was an opportunity there. He felt like on some scenes that you could have been more discreet, had a little bit more sound coming from there. So I'm not going to argue with him. But I was blown away. I thoroughly enjoyed this. And Ralph and I had a great conversation. And like Ralph said, this isn't a disc that you would go, he doesn't understand either. Why is there saying no bass? Because I've got a scene for that for when you get this disc, I want people to, up it. I did it, especially with the conversation we had today. I did it at reference. I did it at -5 and -10. And it's at 42 minutes and 30 seconds. And it's when, it's not a spoiler, everybody knows Riri's in it, but she turns out the lights. Okay, you know the scene I'm talking about, Steve. You know it, John. Well, she turns out the lights and there's a thump. And every single time, and it, like I said, 42 minutes and 30 seconds, every single time I could feel it right here like a pool cue. I've never experienced it that discreet before. Like she turned out the lights and went boom, and you felt the bass hit you right in the sternum, right there in my seat. And I was like, I moved over to the next seat, same thing. And I'm like, this is amazing. So I didn't get that in Disney Plus at reference. Okay. I backed it to 5. I could still feel it. It just wasn't as discreet, nice. At 10, nothing. You just heard the sound, dude. It's like you turn out the lights in a movie, you go, thump, and that's all you get. You just get the sound like what I just did. This actually, I felt it, and I loved it. And there's stuff like that all the way through. And I mentioned to Ralph, I go back to the Cambridge chase scene. It's not a spoiler. You'll know what I'm talking about when you get there. But the Cambridge chase scene, and one of the things about this movie that my wife liked when we saw it in the theater is she loves the music from the Black Panther movies. Absolutely loves it. She said it's the best music in the MCU. In my home, I didn't get this in the theater, but in my home, the lyrics were overhead. But then, like in the Cambridge chase scene, you could hear the dialogue from the characters, whether they're in a car or whatever, and whatever they're doing, but you could hear them talking in front of you. But then the lyrics from the song playing, never mind that the music's going dum, 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 all around your room, but then the lyrics going on, they're hovering over your head. It was so nice. You're nodding, Steve. So I know you got a little bit of that, I think, on Disney Plus.
Yeah, well, when you first see what's his face, old Namor,
yeah,
when he first comes out of the river, and you hear the music for the first time, his theme comes out of nowhere.
Yep.
It made me jump. I jumped out of my seat.
It's even more so.
And it's kind of up in the overheads, and I jumped. I was like, whoa! I was not expecting that. It was great.
Yeah, it's in going from the stream to Kaleidescape was, and I went through and I watched some of the scenes. I was not impressed at all with their IMAX enhanced. They're switching, and there's only I think I counted 5 IMAX enhanced scenes, and they're scattered. And you're like, there's almost like no rhyme or reason. I didn't get that, but it is definitely muted compared to what I think you're going to get on the disc. I haven't gone back. Ralph and I haven't talked since we both compared notes, and we're going to go back and watch some scenes again. But I'm wondering, maybe I can't wait to get the disc, because I know the disc is Disney's 66 gigabytes. Kaleidescape, this is a 98 gigabyte download. So maybe maybe I get a little more fidelity. I don't know. Maybe that helps with my overheads. I don't know. I got to imagine that even if it is, it's fairly similar. I know the disc is going to be fairly similar, because Ralph was very impressed with it too. It's just that one thing he felt like they could have utilized, and he was a little disappointed, to be honest. That's what he said. He's like, and he wrote that in his article. He felt that you could do a little bit more. but my overall feel is exactly what I wanted. When I saw this in the theater, I knew I was being let down sonically. I was like, this isn't what I want. I'm hoping I get more at home, and you do. And you will. And I can almost guarantee you'll get more out of the disc than what you got on Disney Plus.
Okay.
And it's in the 4K, same thing you were saying about the night scenes and stuff. No, it looks so good. There's so many dark scenes in this, and Ralph and I raved about that as well. And it was just like, it's such a gorgeous looking picture throughout, because it's so colorful too, with the two different worlds that we're experiencing and everything. Oh, it's great. I had a blast with it. At 46 minutes and 45 seconds, there's a slow motion explosion, a water explosion, right? But the explosion goes in slow motion, but so does the bass. Like, it was weird. And I did it a couple of times. It's like all of a sudden it's like boom, but now all of a sudden that wave that's supposed to be hitting you, I don't know how you do it, but it's hitting you slower. It was awesome. It was awesome. So yeah, I had a blast with it. Watched it a few times. Obviously, Disney Plus and Kaleidescape. So, I can't wait to get back to it with the Blu-ray, and I'll have I'll report on that, see how it compares later on. So, but all right, is that all we have? I know, John. Unfortunately, you didn't see it yet, right?
No, I mean I saw it in the theaters, but I haven't watched it at home yet.
Okay. All right. All right. Did we do good, Steve?
I'm so sorry, guys. Sorry to have to
don't
cut
apologize.
It short. It's fun when we could just take our time and do what we've got to do. But
I thought it was a great show. 2 hours, 15 minutes. I don't think we're slighting anybody, Steve. Don't feel bad.
No,
don't.
good.
I'm getting a nice early dinner.
Yeah.
Huh?
We're not shortchanging anybody.
No, I know. All right. As you might have heard us allude to earlier, the three of us, are taking next Tuesday off. So there will be no Friday Bus Bench Boys. Let's just put it that way. I'm working on something will be coming Friday. I don't know what yet, but something will be coming. But we're taking the week off to spend it with the ladies or whoever we choose. I don't know, because John might be in trouble, so it might be a lady, but maybe not the one he wanted to go with. So have a great, very special Takeover Tuesday next week on Valentine's Day, as a matter of fact. So you got that to look forward to. So and then we'll see what happens on Friday. But there will be something for you. But the bus bench boys are off for the week, and we'll be back with more Wakanda Forever. We'll be back with more The Last of Us. We'll have 2 episodes to talk about. This is a good episode to take off, anyways.
3 by then.
Oh, three by then. You're right.
There's another one on Friday, guys. There's one Friday coming.
Oh, yeah. That's right. As this is dropping. So, yes.
Yeah.
That's right. So, yeah, great. Have a great week, everybody. Everybody, thank you very much for watching, listening, participating, patrons, everybody. Steve, John, thank you very much. John, what do we got to do?
Go push play.
Steve?
And get what he said.
Here we go. Later, boys. Hey, Fred. This has been a Hey Fred production with theme music by Jeff Bernhardt and Throne Vault Productions.